Good night, fellow traveler. Hear me out because tonight I will get straight to the point with you. I know exactly what's keeping you stuck. I know exactly what keeps you awake at night. If you are still listening to me, pause what you are doing right now and listen to this full transmission. I guarantee you that in less than 30 minutes you will not be same, and you won't regret it. Actually, you are going to thank me for sharing this knowledge with you. You are not exhausted because you lack potential. You're exhausted because your attention keeps collapsing into the same narrow story about who you are and what is possible for you. Every morning you wake up with a wide horizon of outcomes shimmering in front of you. And by midday, the old script has already chosen for you. If you have ever felt like your mind is a crowded room where the loudest worry gets to hold the microphone, this is for you. Let us begin with a question that bites a little. What if your mind is not a container that stores thoughts, but a living field that shapes reality by the way it looks at it? In ordinary life, you already know this in your bones. A conversation heard through jealousy turns into proof of betrayal. The same conversation heard through trust unfolds as tenderness. The world does not change between those moments. The you that is looking changes, and the scene crystallizes around that look. That is the heart of what people call quantum consciousness. Not a promise of magic tricks or a shortcut around honest effort, but a way to understand the strangely powerful role of your state of awareness. In the smallest arenas of nature, observation influences what shows up. In the arenas of your daily life, attention influences which version of you gets to walk into the room. Focus decides which of the countless possibilities becomes your next step. If you have felt scattered, stuck, or haunted by what might go wrong, notice how your gaze keeps returning to the same scenario. The mind is practicing the future in advance, and practice makes patterns feel inevitable. When you treat your attention like a measuring device, you start to sense how it can freeze fear into fact or allow a better path to emerge. This is not about denying hardship. It is about discovering the lever you already hold. Over the next minutes, we will explore how to use this lever. You will learn how to tune your inner radio so that you are not listening to static all day. You will experience small shifts that open a wider channel, where insight arrives without being forced and decisions land with a quiet sense of rightness. Think of this as a series of experiments inside your own awareness. You do not need special gear. You only need a willingness to look differently. By the time we are done, you will not have learned a single trick. You will have met a different way of being the observer of your own life. The work is simple, and it begins now. Take a breath. Feel the weight of your body wherever you are. Let the next few minutes become a doorway. If your mind has been telling you that you are less powerful than your problems, allow this episode to test that story. Not with wishful thinking, but with direct experience of how your attention selects the world you live in. When people hear the phrase quantum consciousness, they often picture glittering particles and chalkboards filled with symbols. Set that aside for a moment and come closer to the ordinary place where this becomes useful. Imagine you are carrying a small lamp. Wherever the lamp points, that part of your life becomes bright and detailed while the rest fades into shadow. That lamp is your attention. The simple act of looking at something gives it contrast, texture, meaning. Your brain then organizes the day around what is lit, not around what is true, in some final sense. This is why a person locked in self-doubt can be surrounded by evidence of their abilities and still feel small. The lamp keeps pointing at the same corner. Think about the way a conversation changes when you walk in expecting resistance. The words you hear confirm your expectation because your nervous system is already bracing for impact. Small silences feel like rejection. A neutral question sounds like a challenge. The story becomes self-fulfilling. Now imagine entering the same room with the lamp set to curiosity. You notice details you would have missed. The hesitations now read like care. The entire narrative reshapes itself around the quality of your gaze. The event did not change. The observer did, and the event took its cue. This is not mystical in the way people sometimes fear. It is strikingly practical. Your nervous system is a prediction machine. It constantly proposes what is about to happen so it can prepare your body. These proposals are trained by what you feed the machine. If you rehearse fear every morning by scanning for what might go wrong, your body learns to anticipate threat, and it narrows your field of possibility. If you rehearse agency by scanning for small places where your effort matters, your body learns to anticipate participation and your field opens. You begin to notice paths that were already there but hidden from your earlier view. Consider the days when everything feels heavy. Often it is not the size of the tasks, but the weight of the identity you have draped over yourself. I am the one who never finishes. I am the one who always messes up the important call. The identity becomes like a measurement. It collapses the range of you into a familiar image, and then every action conforms to that image. A better question is what happens when you stop measuring yourself by the most unflattering snapshot in your memory. When you treat each moment as a fresh experiment, you create a tiny split in the wall of inevitability. Through that split, you can move. Let us ground this in 3 scenes you know. In creativity, a blank page can feel like a desert. If the lamp points at the fear of getting it wrong, your mind offers stale ideas as camouflage. When the lamp points at the feeling of play, new images appear that were waiting just outside your previous frame. In relationships, a long-standing argument can feel like a fixed shape carved into stone. When the lamp points at the old grievance, you reenact the same lines with the same ending. When it points at the shared value underneath the conflict, the tone shifts and a path to repair becomes visible. In health, a lapse in routine can trigger a spiral of self-punishment. When the lamp points at the lapse, the day collapses into failure. When it points at the next honest step, the spiral breaks and momentum returns. You might ask how to move the lamp on purpose rather than by accident. Begin by noticing that attention has a default channel and a chosen channel. The default channel is whatever your conditioning wants to watch. It is loud. It speaks in urgent tones. The chosen channel is quieter, but steadier. You reach it by asking simple questions that cut through your narrative. What exactly am I focusing on right now? Is this focus helping me create the outcome I care about? If not, what else deserves light for the next minute? These questions are like gentle hands on the lamp handle. They do not force anything. They guide. There is also a posture of mind that makes this easier. It is a blend of humility and authority. Humility admits that your first interpretation might be wrong. Authority insists that your interpretation matters anyway. Humility opens the window. Authority chooses where to look. When you practice this blend, your inner climate changes. You catch the moment when your body starts rehearsing an old future and you redirect it toward a better one. Over time, the redirection becomes natural. The lamp remembers where you prefer to point it. Some listeners worry that this means ignoring problems. It does not. It means you bring the lamp to the place where action is possible, rather than to the place where rumination grows. You are still honest about constraints. You simply refuse to make a home inside them. You give more light to skills, allies, options, and experiments. Problems become information, not identity. The same world, a different observer, a different unfolding. If all of this feels new, let it be an experiment for the rest of today. Choose one scene that you expect to go poorly. Pause before it begins. Name the outcome you would like to participate in creating. Aim your lamp at even the smallest sign that the outcome is possible. And let those signs train your nervous system toward that path. Notice how your voice changes. Notice how the room meets you differently. Notice what opens that was invisible an hour ago. You are not forcing reality to obey a wish. You are participating more wisely in the way reality selects its next step through you. Think of attention as a tuning fork that sets the key for everything that follows. Strike it in fear and your conversations, your choices, even your posture start vibrating in that key. Strike it in clarity and the same day rearranges itself around a steadier rhythm. The practical question is how to bring the fork to a better note when the old song keeps playing on its own. You can do it by working with 3 levers you carry everywhere: state, story, and step. State is your present chemistry and breath and posture. Story is the caption your mind pastes onto what you are seeing. Step is the next concrete move that proves to your nervous system that a different outcome is already beginning. Begin with state, because story will borrow its mood from your body. When the day tightens around you, let your awareness move through 3 gentle gates. First, feel gravity pull you into the chair or the floor, and allow yourself to be supported by something that does not ask you to perform. Second, notice one sound and one sensation at the edge of your awareness, as if you were widening the camera lens just a little. Third, let the exhale be a shade longer than the inhale for 2 slow cycles. Most people are surprised by how quickly the inner weather shifts when they pass through these gates on purpose. The world outside may not change at all. The observer has changed, and the scene starts to answer the new observer. Now turn to story. Your brain is always writing captions for the scenes of your life. Many of these captions were installed by repetition, not by truth. The meeting is doomed. I am behind and will never catch up. People always leave. Instead of wrestling the captions, ask a quiet question that resets the frame. What am I missing that would make this scene more workable? The question does not erase the difficulty. It invites new data to appear inside your lamp. Often the new data is small. A colleague is not distant but distracted by fatigue. A deadline is not rigid but waiting for a clear request. The caption changes by a few degrees, and suddenly there is room to move. Then step. Agency grows by doing something that your body registers as real. Choose a move you can complete in a short breath. Send the message that asks for a decision in 1 sentence. Place the running shoes by the door and walk to the mailbox. Open the document and write a single honest paragraph. Schedule the repair call for 8 minutes from now and do nothing else until it is done. When a step is honestly small, your body gives you a yes. The yes becomes a bridge to the next step. Soon you are building a story that your attention can trust because it is verified by action, not imagined in isolation. There is a 4th element that braids through the other 3. Identity. Many of us try to behave our way into a different identity. It is often more effective to adopt a more generous identity for the next 10 minutes and let behavior catch up. Instead of I am a person who never follows through, try I am the kind of person who finishes what matters when I am present. Identity is powerful because it aims the lamp and tunes the fork at the same time. You are not pretending. You are practicing the version of you that already exists when fear is not choosing your focus. You may wonder what this looks like in real time when emotions run high. Imagine you receive a message that touches an old fear. Your chest tightens and the mind begins listing catastrophes. You pass through the state gates in less than a minute and feel the floor again. You ask the story question and realize you have not actually clarified what is being requested. The smallest step is to reply with a single sentence asking for the missing detail. The identity you try on is simple. I am someone who uses clarity to reduce panic. None of this is dramatic, but notice how the chain reaction changes. The body loosens. The caption becomes calmer. The next step appears without force. Some listeners will try this and still feel the pull of the old gravity. That is normal. Patterns are patient. Treat patience with patience. Give yourself permission to reset many times a day without labeling it failure. If the tuning fork falls back into the anxious key, notice it and strike again. If the lamp wanders to the bleak corner, invite it back. There is a quiet dignity in refusing to abandon your post as the observer even when the weather is messy. That refusal is not passive. It is the seed of a different trajectory. I want to make room for your experience because your details teach more than my examples. What is the moment where you most notice your attention collapsing into the smallest story? Where in your week would a gentler state, a more useful caption, and a single honest step change the arc of the day? Share one example in the comments and name the identity you plan to practice when that scene arrives again. When people name their experiments out loud, the mind treats them as more real, and other listeners borrow courage from your specifics. Your example may be the exact key someone else needed to retune their day. As you continue, keep a promise with yourself that requires no drama. Once a day, today included, you will catch the instant before you measure the moment with fear, and you will measure it with curiosity instead. That is not optimism. It is disciplined attention. The discipline will not make you invulnerable. It will make you available to possibilities that old rehearsals could not perceive. From there, outcomes begin to tilt. Decisions cost less. Conversations breathe. Energy that was trapped in managing dread can return to building what matters. And as that energy returns, the mind discovers that it has always been more powerful than the story it inherited, especially when it learns to choose its state, rewrite its caption, and take the next honest step. There is a difference between trying to force outcomes and learning to cooperate with how reality tends to unfold through you. People often burn out because they attempt to push from a tight inner posture while ignoring the quiet conditions that allow momentum to accumulate. If you think of your mind as a studio where futures are drafted, then conditions matter. Light matters, air matters, the shape of the room matters. In life, that studio is your attention, your body, your environment, and the rhythm of your days. When these align even modestly, ideas that once felt heavy begin to move with their own weight. You are not manifesting in the mystical sense. You are participating in a way that makes progress natural. Start with the simple physics of friction. Friction in this context is anything that makes the next honest step harder to begin. Your attention picks up friction quickly. Cluttered spaces increase decision load. Unclear schedules make every hour a guess. Constant digital noise turns your lamp into a strobe. The mind then spends its limited energy negotiating the basics rather than exploring the path. Reducing friction is an act of respect toward your future self. It is also a statement of belief that your next step deserves a clear runway. Put needed tools within reach of where the behavior happens. Decide the night before what the first small move of the morning will be. Close extra tabs so that the one thing you intend to do is the first thing you see. None of this is glamorous. It is simply the ground that lets attention aim where you want it to aim. Alongside friction, there is the principle of resonance. You have felt resonance when a conversation unlocks a feeling of yes that requires no persuasion, or when a problem that seemed dense suddenly reveals a simple seam to pull. Resonance appears when what you are attempting matches who you are willing to be. The mind is often confused because it tries to build a life around an identity that no longer fits. This produces static. You may be organizing your day as if you were still trying to prove something that no longer matters. When you allow the identity to refresh, tasks that used to resist you start to cooperate. The bridge between your current view and that refreshed identity is made of small evidence. Each day you provide your nervous system with proof that the new pattern belongs to you by completing actions that this identity would naturally perform. Over time, the bridge becomes a road. This is where uncertainty becomes your ally instead of your enemy. Attention that insists on certainty before it begins will wait forever, because beginnings by definition contain unknowns. The confident move is not to banish uncertainty, but to use it as a training partner. You enter a scene with a clear intention and a flexible method. You watch for feedback and let it guide your next adjustment. The inner posture is quiet determination rather than brittle performance. When a move fails to land, you let the failure carry information rather than shame. You listen for the signal hidden inside the noise, and you retune. The process repeats until the result begins to echo your intention. Another quiet force is the way you speak to yourself while you act. Many people run a commentary that is 10 seconds behind the moment and 10 degrees more severe than reality. This commentary is not harmless. It dilutes attention and convinces the body to brace when it could breathe. Replace the commentary with a simple loop that stays close to what is happening. Name what you are doing in plain language and praise completion rather than perfection. The point is not to flatter yourself. The point is to provide a steady rhythm that your nervous system can follow without getting lost in evaluation. When the loop stays steady, your capacity expands because less energy is wasted on defense. Rest is not the opposite of action in this model. It is part of the same cycle. The observer needs regular chances to reset, or the lamp starts to jitter and the tuning fork falls flat. Sleep is one reset. Silence is another. Focused work also has a reset built in if you let it, because true focus clears the mental debris that anxiety throws into the room. If you have ever felt more rested after a period of deep attention, you have already touched this. The practice is to give each part of the cycle its full due. Work when you work, rest when you rest. Let neither bleed constantly into the other. This clean alternation trains your mind to trust you. Finally, remember that power grows where responsibility is welcomed without drama. You are not responsible for every variable in your life. You are responsible for the way you aim the lamp, the note you choose to strike, the studio you prepare, and the next step you take after listening to the room. That is already a vast territory. When you live inside that territory with care, people feel the difference. Rooms settle when you enter. Options appear that used to hide. You begin to see that your mind was never just a container for thoughts. It was a living field capable of shaping experience by the way it attends. And when that attention is disciplined and kind, outcomes have a way of meeting you halfway. You have seen how the scene answers the observer, how the lamp of attention brightens what you choose to notice, how the tuning fork of state sets the key for everything that follows, and how story and step and a gentler identity let momentum return. None of this requires a perfect day. It asks for a willing one. The power you were looking for behind the horizon is already here in the way you look, and the world that meets you is ready to reshape around that look. When you forget, begin again. When fear measures the moment, remeasure with curiosity. When the old caption tries to narrate your future, write the next line yourself and let action make it true. If this conversation has helped you feel steadier and more able to participate in the reality you are creating, make this a place you return to. Subscribe now so that these reminders arrive when the week tries to pull you back into a smaller story, and bring someone you care about with you. The practice continues in the next breath.